on the News Channel 5 network. This is OpenLine.
Hello everyone, welcome to OpenLine. Glad you're with us tonight. We're talking tonight about one of the most bizarre, unusual, maybe scariest stories I've ever done. You may have seen it a couple weeks ago. I did a story involving squatters. And I actually went up to a house where there were squatters and was chased away by an axe. So we thought tonight, let's talk about that story and let's talk about squatters' rights, if there are, the laws surrounding squatters, essentially. Happy to have with us our legal analyst, Nick Leonardo. Nick, thank you for being here.
Absolutely, always a pleasure.
All right, we're going to play the story here in a few minutes, you know, and it's kind of self-explanatory, but I really want to get into this because after we did this story, I got calls from people who said, I know all about squatters and there's, you know, this problem and that problem. What does the law say? I mean, how big a problem are squatters?
Okay, well, it's kind of a complicated set of rules regarding this. Okay, you know, if and only if and when and but and all these conjunctions that, you know, kind of the exceptions swallow up the general rule. But, you know, I guess we could preface the legal discussion by saying if you think that it's wrong, it's probably wrong. Okay, in this situation. But so we have a thing called adverse possession in Tennessee. It's also a common law thing, and in its most simplest sense, it says that basically if you are on a piece of property and you're occupying it continuously, open, notoriously, and it's adverse or hostile to the owner's interest, you're doing it under color of title, which means you're legitimately there. You believe that you're legitimately there. After a period of years, you can actually have an ownership interest in the property. But again, when I say color of title, that's very important, which means that you believe that you're lawfully here. And so where we see this a lot of times in the law are boundary disputes, okay? You bought your house, I bought my house, you moved your fence a little too far over and I say, Ben, you're on my property, but it's okay. That's where we see this a lot of times. Your piece, of which I have not seen other than the teasers on, and I'm anxious to see it. We don't have a situation where you can just walk into a vacant home and occupy it and call it yours if you stayed there long enough, okay? So that's...
Because there are people that think that.
That's absolutely correct. And of course the internet today, we have an epistemology problem in America, okay? We don't know how we know what we know, but you know, there's a lot of misinformation out there that basically states that if you somehow you know, pay property taxes, then it is your home. And that's not what the exception in our code is about. It basically says if you or your predecessor paid property taxes under color of title, then that is something that can be looked at. So again, it's a series of misinformation, but it seemed to be a fascinating story. And from what I gather, this piece seems to be that there was some sort of short sale that he thought he was going to purchase, right?
Right. Oh, here's the deal. I mean, number one, okay, he did pay the property tax, so that's astounding. He told another TV station, yeah, this law of adverse possession, that's what he was doing. Essentially, this is a house that fell through the cracks.
Correct.
This was a house that was foreclosed on back in 2012. Two banks essentially had some mortgage interest in it, and there was some confusion about which bank could allow a sale to go through. And so banks kept blocking sales. People wanted to buy this house. This is not some shack. This is a $500,000 house. And so the banks kept blocking the sale. Meanwhile, the grass grew high and it fell into some disrepair. This guy moved in, he cut the grass, and then he just moves in, he pays the property taxes, and he says, I'm here by adverse possession. And if he had just kept his head down, he might have been fine. But residents got upset because he started bringing in all these cars and all these, you know, all this stuff started coming in. So they started complaining, and they couldn't find the bank. There was no bank that was willing to take responsibility. And that's when the city kind of got involved. I mean, so it's a very unusual situation. Kind of fell through the cracks in the housing crisis with the foreclosure.
And I had also, one of the lawyers that had worked on this, I had just run into him recently and we were talking, and it was his understanding that the guy that you interviewed or that was there present that day was in the process of trying to he would have liked to have purchased this in a short sale.
Okay.
And so there's certain kind of liens that can't be, you know, foreclosed on. I mean, if you have an IRS lien, it can be extinguished after a foreclosure, after a period, but a Tennessee Department of Revenue lien on a piece of real property cannot be extinguished and is there for perpetuity. So the short sale was not going to be enough to cover all the liens, and so I think people may have lost a little bit of interest. And I guess basically if he thought he was there legitimately, he sure wouldn't have ran you off with a weapon, okay?
No, that's not, you know, if you're ever encountered with somebody that wants to interview you, never do that. Don't do that. It doesn't look good.
No.
It didn't turn out well for him. All right, so what we want to do, we're streaming this live also on our Facebook page, so you can join the conversation on our News Channel 5 Facebook page. You put a comment in the comments section, we'll read it. It can be part of our conversation. But why don't we play the story? Sure. So this is like a 4-minute story that kind of gives you the background and everything, and then of course ends with me being chased off by an axe. But we'll play that story, then we'll come back out and talk about it some more. We want to talk to you about why you're in this house.
I want to talk to you about getting out of here. How's that? Does that work with you? Get that out of my face.
Don't touch the camera. Jude Piskey didn't want to talk about why he's been squatting in this Mount Juliet home for more than 2 years. The bank
you don't have a I don't give a
bank says you don't have a right to
You know what I got to say?
When did you move in?
Don't matter. None of your business.
Our investigation found that Piskey moved into the home more than 2 years ago, despite having no legal claim to the property. The banks that had foreclosed on the previous owners essentially forgot about it, allowing it to sit empty for years. This video home tour shows what the luxury log cabin used to look like. Attempts to sell it fell apart because of confusion among banks after the housing crisis.
It sat empty for a while before we tried to buy it.
Ron and Dina Woodard fell in love with the home back in 2014 and tried to buy it at auction.
I knew where all of my furniture was going to be. I mean, it was just, you know, it was ours. You know, and the kids were just as excited about it as we were.
And their high bid was accepted. But days before they were set to close, the bank pulled the plug on the deal.
There was no real explanation of why.
It was just kind of like, oh, we pulled the listing. Sorry.
Yeah.
In late 2012, J.P. Morgan Chase foreclosed on the home, then sold it to Bank of New York Mellon as trustees for investors for a mortgage-backed security. Control over the home has since passed from Countrywide Financial to Bank of America and finally to NationStar. Meanwhile, it is sat empty.
We couldn't get in touch with anybody that would claim any responsibility for the maintenance or ownership or anything else at that point.
City Commissioner Ray Justice contacted more than one bank about the abandoned home, but they didn't seem to care.
I got no response, zero response.
It was about that time Jude Piskey, his friends and family suddenly appeared at the house.
This is probably one of the most bizarre things I've ever dealt with.
Police were first called to the home in April of 2015 for a domestic dispute involving Piskey and his ex-wife. In September, police discovered a stolen vehicle at the property.
The gentleman had no connection to the owners of the property and that we could find.
Piskey actually paid the back property taxes on the home to keep Wilson County from seizing it in 2015. We found Piskey has a history of codes violations. In 2008, he illegally moved a home to a piece of land near Hermitage, forcing Davidson County officials to condemn the home.
This is just nuts.
Justice says he fields weekly complaints from his constituents about the number of cars and junk being stored at the log cabin. Are you gaming the system?
No, man, I'm running for Congress.
NationStar Bank finally sent us a statement saying, "We greatly appreciate that you brought this to our attention," and went on to say, "We are moving quickly to evict the home of its current residents so the home can be prepared for sale."
All I can do is applaud Channel 5 News. Thank you for actually going an extra mile and helping us get this taken care of.
But as we discovered, getting Piskey to leave may not be easy. This is not your property. The bank says you have no right to be here. As Piskey walked to his truck, we didn't realize what was about to happen.
Let me see here. I was just, what was trying to do with? This is probably working. Out of here.
All right.
Go, God.
We're backing up.
No, leave, God.
We're leaving right now. Don't hit. We're leaving right now. Now, we were not hurt by all that, but police arrested Piskey and charged him with aggravated assault. He bonded out and still lives in the house. We'll keep watching to see if the bank actually gets him out of the home. So there you go. There's my little tag. You saw me there, and I'm right here. Yeah. So we weren't hurt. He was arrested, and then he went back to the house. He's now in jail for violating his probation. So that's where he is there. And
attempted aggravated assault on you.
Yeah.
And the cameraman.
And the photographer and our producer who was there. So there were 3 of us there. But a crazy situation. You see that. Does that seem pretty unusual? That it went from bank to bank like that, and then someone moves in. He was there 2 years. And the city was trying to get him out, and nothing was happening.
I mean, this is definitely a situation that, you know, like as you said earlier, it fell through the cracks. Now, if he was there under color of title and he had adversely possessed it for 7 years, then you couldn't remove him. He would have possession at that point. And I guess that's maybe what he was trying. But again, you have to have color of title. You can't just walk in there and have 7 or 20-year statute apply to you if you have no legitimacy there. And in this case, he did not.
And we have people asking that. Okay, so this was a house. I mean, it's a beautiful house. You see,
gorgeous home.
Gorgeous home.
Beautiful.
But it had fallen through the cracks. Then it wasn't being kept up. It wasn't being maintained. You see, he has a lot of kind of home improvement material. He had an axe. You know, he had all kinds of stuff there in his truck. I think part of what he does is home improvement type stuff. So he sees this house. Let's say he sees this house. It's not being maintained. He moves in. He says, if I can live there, pay the property taxes for 7 years, no one kicks me out, then I get it.
If he had color of title, which means if he was there legitimately, if he had a deed, you know, or had some reason to believe that he was legitimately there, or that an adjacent tract belongs to him. But just to walk in and do that, you know, without color of title, he really can't get anywhere. But the reality is that Wilson County is the 2nd wealthiest county in Tennessee, and so the property taxes are cheaper than the rent. And so, I mean, he probably got a pretty good deal.
Oh, he got a great deal. There's no doubt. Okay, so we're going to take a break. We're streaming live on our News Channel 5 Facebook page. I'll start reading some of your comments. Yolanda Hale, Letha Ann Barnes, I'll read your comments. If you want to comment, join the conversation or give us a call. There's the number, 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. Take a break. Be back right after this.